Okay, thank you for that, Marek. I'd now like us to talk about the listings segment and where GPW is with regards to the listings business. Now, I understand you had a very good end to the year. Allegro.eu IPO was a big one for the exchange, the largest in your history, I understand, and I think at the time made the Warsaw Exchange the second largest in Europe by listing revenue, which is a fantastic achievement. And I understand that that PCF Group is sort of working hard and getting close to its IPO, and hopefully you have more big IPOs lined up for 2021. Can you talk to me a bit, Marek, about the IPO business and how you plan to sort of grow that into 2021, building on the momentum that you have achieved recently?
Of course, with pleasure, I'll explain, but I have to look back a little bit to the past few years when it comes to fundraising in Poland, as we had over the last 15 years, tremendous growth of venture capital industry. So until 2005, 2006, Poland was, in terms of venture capital, a desert. And at the same time, Poles have a great entrepreneurial spirit, so they were using our junior board, New Connect, to raise money. But it was, of course, difficult, and also there was access only to passive money, not to the smart money. And there was a dramatic change through the intervention of the government, which used Polish government money and EU money to boost venture capital industry. And the industry became quite mature over these 15 years. And this partially resulted in the declining number of IPOs in the recent years, because the companies which were usually going, in my view, too early to the stock exchange, they were kept longer in the private hands, venture capital, private equity firms. And but of course, the number of companies which were grown in the last few years increased. One example is Allegro, which indeed raised over 2 billion euros on the exchange and is valued for 20 plus billion euros. But there are a few other companies which are maybe not of this size, but still growing very fast and having 3-4 rounds of venture funding. And this is a great opportunity for the exchange because the companies which are knocking to our doors are much better prepared for dealing with the external investors than those which were IPO'd in beginning of the 21st century, because they work with the venture capital, they have proper reporting system in place, and so on and so on. So I think the good times for IPOs is coming to the Warsaw Stock Exchange, not through the just changes of sentiment, but through the systematic building up of the companies, and more funds, venture capital funds, want to exit, and the exit via stock exchanges, Allegro showed, could be very profitable. And also there was thinking among some of the Polish unicorns that if you want to raise really large chunk of money, you have to go to NASDAQ or wherever. And actually it's not true. You can raise the huge amount of money for Polish standards on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. And this comes back to what I said about the frontier markets, that actually if you are on the mainstream exchange in the EU, you have very similar access to the investors base and as in London, let's say, or in whatever, Frankfurt or Paris. So I'm quite positive on our listing business going forward to 2021. I think we can reasonably expect on average 2 IPOs per month in the coming year. And what is even more promising, that all the IPOs you mentioned and all the others were heavily oversubscribed. The reduction was up to 98%. So people who were willing to buy 100 shares were getting 2 shares. So it's really amazing how the IPO market is hot in the moment. But the sentiment of investors might change, but the desire for venture capitalists to exit the investment will stay. And currently we see around 400 companies which are invested by venture capitalists in Poland. And looking through international statistic, around 18 to 20% is exited via stock exchange. So we can reasonably expect in the coming years 60 companies to go public, alone from the venture capital portfolio.
And you mentioned, Marek, the New Connect, which I believe is your multilateral trading facility for SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. Could you tell us a bit about that? What types of companies are you seeing coming on to New Connect, and what sorts of turnover, what sort of volume are you seeing in those companies?
Well, New Connect had been developing very nicely this year. The trading volumes, combined trading volumes this year were higher than over the last 10 years, or the first 10 years of New Connect. So you see that New Connect is really developing very nicely. One reason is crowdfunding. It's a natural next step for those companies who raised money in the crowdfunding to go to our junior market. The second wave of companies are gaming companies, game developers. Warsaw Stock Exchange is currently #1 in terms of the number of game dev companies listed. We took over Tokyo and Seoul recently, and some of the companies are on the New Connect, and they are enjoying very good investor sentiment. So they are, for standards of junior markets, for MTF or junior markets, they enjoy quite nice liquidity. And also New Connect was put on the list of SME growth markets by the list is designed by ESMA, European Financial Market Supervisor. So, but this market is getting more and more mature, and as the trading volumes increase. So we also developed a third market. It's market not for the financial instruments, but for tokens, which are not financial instruments. And we see great interest from gaming studios. They want to issue tokens in exchange for sharing the revenues for the given title, for the video game title. So the future most probably look like that. Projects, not companies, but project will be financed through our private market, as we call it, so our blockchain platform with tokens. Then some companies which are starting their journey through capital markets will use New Connect. Also, it will be beneficial when the crowdfunding limit introduced by the European Union will be increased to 5 million euros from 1 million euros. So 1 million euros. So in crowdfunding, the companies would be raising a substantial amount of money for the Polish standards, and they will go to New Connect just to give a little bit of liquidity to the investors. And if there is larger companies and proper IPO process, they will go to the main market, and in the way we will serve all the different customer groups.
So with that in mind, Marek, what new products are you looking to deliver in 2021?
First of all, what I mentioned is this platform. You can issue tokens on the platform, but you cannot trade them. So second half of the next year, there will be a trading platform. So we'll be trading tokens for non-financial instruments. In the main market, we have a strong focus on passive products. So new ETFs will be coming to the market, and hopefully new providers of ETFs are gonna join us. Currently, we have 2 providers, but there is huge appetite for other ETFs, especially for international stocks. So next ETF will be for Nasdaq 100, so top tech, the US tech companies. We are also improving user experience with our structural products, ETP. We'll be fully automate the process of listing of new ETPs, exchange traded products, structured product. We will keep on offering new derivatives. We see more and more interest into options, and options which were relatively underdeveloped in our market hopefully will take off next year.